Chosen ones, it's time that we show our willy. No, 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 no. Put that back in. Don't whip it out yet. What I mean is that we need to show our will energy. Ah, I confused y'all on purpose, but the world itself. It can be a confusing motherfucker, or at least it wants us to think so. I mean, we go around all the time having thoughts and ideas that we're pretty sure about, but we just don't truly know. We sit there going, well, it seems right, it feels right, but I just don't know. And then we get ourselves trapped in this loop-de-loop of confusion and bullshit. It's really a drag, a pain in the ass. It keeps us from seizing the day, but if you're spiritual and if you're in this whole awakening thing that has been affecting a lot of us since the 2020s, I mean, I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of times where I think that a lot of us have just been like, oh my god, I nearly died. Oh, fuck. But once you start gaining a bit of confidence and you start looking around the world going, why was I confused in the first place? Why did I let myself put myself through such stupid shit that wasn't going to have any positive result? Like, the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. Ugh. I think it's because that there are a lot of forces at work in our lives, people that we think love us, people we think care about us, but I mean, they just kind of sit there watching us suffer, watching us struggle, and uh, I look at it this way. You know, when you're going through spiritual awakenings, when you're entering into this paranormal, supernatural realm that's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it, but also kind of a nightmare until you do. Think of it this way. There are people in our lives who should be helping and supporting us through this time, right? But instead, it's like when you get on a diet and you're trying to live and eat healthy and they're sitting there going, hey, you want to have 2 pizzas? Hey, you want to go to McDonald's? And not that you can't eat pizza or McDonald's on a diet, but, you know, they're sitting there just eating it all the time in front of you. It's a little annoying. It's like watching that movie Easy Money with Rodney Dangerfield. It just couldn't get no respect because, let's face it, the people in our lives who don't give us respect don't actually give a shit about us. But if you're a good fucker, you still care about him endlessly and you let him keep fucking you over and over again. And you wonder why you're so drained of energy until you gotta realize, hey, I don't even think I need to boot this motherfucker out of my life. I think I just need to take advantage of this cocksucker. And, you know, we need a new word because I like cocksucker. Cocksucker is a good word. And I mean, if you're straight, it should offend you because you're not a cocksucker. And if you're gay, you should be like, yes, I love sucking cock. So I don't really see why it should offend anybody, except those of which we wish to offend with the word cocksucker. Anyway, it is very much like the movie Easy Money when the dude's trying to complete this fucking challenge, essentially, for a year that he has to live clean and do all this stuff right, you know, change his diet, change his ways of living, stop smoking weed, doing all this stuff. And all of his friends are just doing all of that shit in front of him all the time, instead of being like, if we didn't do these things and our friend completes the challenge, he becomes a millionaire. Maybe we should pitch in and offer some fucking support, right? Right? This is not how friends and family tend to work, but, you know, when you have those people in your lives who are just being completely unmotherfucking supportive, here's an interesting experiment to play. Start mistreating them, start using them, start abusing them left and right. Because you know in your heart that if you actually kept them in your life, that you love them, that your intentions are loving, that you are forgiving, that you will allow people to put you through utter bullshit and you'll just keep taking it. So, realize that there's a really fun, interesting game to play. Because you can just start using and abusing them, and if they stay in your life, if they don't act like a normal human being should, like, fuck you, I'm not going to be treated like this, then you can start getting a little bit, you know, ooh, what's going on here? Because we all know that we're opposing a corrupt, oppressive governmental system that's not just, you know, confusing and misleading people. They're obviously using the spiritualism and the supernatural paranormal shit to their advantage to fuck over an entire planet. And if our vibrational energies and all that stuff is completely true the way we believe it to be, then they're not just fucking over an entire planet, they are doing some massive acts of evil. So if we're in that kind of knowing sphere, and we realize that spooky oogie boogie shit's going on around us, It's when you get to actually put the scientific method to great use and you just get to sit there and have all kinds of fun because you can be like, all right, if this motherfucker was actually a real person and my friend, they'd be being supportive. But then if they're actually a real motherfucker and I'm treating them shittier than they've been treating me and I'm just using them to whatever means I fucking want, like, hey, go take out the garbage, hey, cook this for me, hey, go do this for me, then you're going to start sitting there questioning, they treat me like shit, but when I treat them like shit, they don't act like they catch on. They'll do anything to stay in my life and to stay in, my circle of trust. Weird, right? Almost like you've got a double agent saboteur working against you and they just don't want to be caught. I mean, you can't be super abusive with these people, but you can treat them in a very shitty way and you can start doing shitty things to them and it just fucking highlights the contradictions around you and you just got to sit there going like, all right, they pretend to be my friend, but they do everything they can to sabotage me and to just treat me like shit. And then when I just start using them, they let me. That's really odd and suspicious. I mean, it's happened to me a whole bunch of fucking times. And it makes you just sit there going, alright, I'm pretty sure that the crazy delusional shit in my head is actually true. Otherwise, this bullshit wouldn't be happening. Because if you have somebody in your life who acts like they love you and care about you, but at the same time, they're absolutely destroying your happiness, but then they let you mistreat them and abuse them in all kinds of bullshit ways, you gotta sit there going, well, my brain tells me that if a person lets me mistreat them like this, then they must love me because they're putting up with me. But then you gotta sit down and think, well, but if all of this magical hocus pocus is real, if we actually live in a wonderful world full of energies and vibrations, then something else is going on. And that something else that's going on is that something is clearly working against us in all kinds of fucked up ways because they want us to sit there blaming ourselves. They want us to sit there in doubt and confusion when you just got to sit there and go, all right, this shit just doesn't make any sense. It's just so full of absolute contradictions. And that's a fun game to play because the more you can play that game, the more you can be like, hey, fuck you, fear. I'm not going to listen to your bullshit. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do within reason, not hurting people unjustly, obviously. It's like if somebody's been fucking with you and playing games with you and they've been treating you shittily, there's no reason why, in an experimental form, you can't treat them in a similar fashion and just see what the fuck's going on. Because that's not being malicious intentionally. What you're actually sitting there doing is trying to figure out what the fuck is just going on in this crazy, crazy world that we live in that just wants to tell us all, take your pills, shut the fuck up, don't pay any attention to what's going on. Well, when you start paying attention to what's going on and the family members in your life, the friends in your life start acting all kinds of fucked up and you're like, hey, I know I'm fucking crazy and I know I'm dealing with crazy shit, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of factual evidence to suggest that even if I don't know what the fuck's going on, somebody else should be looking at the same shit I'm looking at going, well, you don't know what's going on and you're not like the authority on this matter, but clearly this shit's important and we should be, focusing on it. If maybe somebody was here to help you, you'd actually be able to figure out what the fuck is going on. But that's when us chosen ones have to show our willy. We have to show our willpower and our energy. We have to just be like, all right, I think I know the gist of what's going on. I got a feeling. I got ideas. And the only thing that's keeping me from seeing those as truth and fully believing them is my doubt of myself, that I don't trust myself, that I don't believe that I have the confidence or the intelligence or what have you to actually sit here and go, I don't know everything that's going on. I don't have absolute answers, but there probably aren't absolute answers in this universe. It's probably just that we can create all of these different kinds of ideas and concepts and labels for what's going on and for what things are, so that one, it's easy for us to communicate and to try to understand these things, but two, so that when we essentially realize that nothing's true and everything is permitted, that we can find and create and craft our own beliefs so that we can be unique individuals, because we can sit there going, well, there aren't true answers. There's not like a real Bible to this shit. But you can find your own Bible. You can find belief in these stories that exist around us. And you can define yourself by them so long as you don't limit yourself in a constrictive, destructive manner. So long as you're using those things to inspire you, to help you get a grip on things. I mean, that's what I believe all of this shit's for. And that's also the beauty of not having any absolutes, that we can all believe in the same things and be united by those same things while also sharing our differences. I mean, that's a beautiful fucking thing, to sit there and realize that we can all come up with our own beliefs, our own ways of understanding, and then we can all break it down simply and go, hey, I might see these things as Marvel, you might see these things as DC, but at the end of the day, we all like the same shit. We all like seeing heroes triumph over villains. We all like seeing people better themselves and become super versions of themselves. We all like that sense of empowerment. And most of us, even when we're idolizing villains, we're idolizing a sense of power that we wish that we had. And more often than not, when we're idolizing villains, it's that we're idolizing the freedom that they have, that we don't want to be tied down and constricted by the rules that the heroes have to play by. Because we look out at the world if we idolize villains. I'm not one of those people, but I can kind of get a sense of understanding of it, that they've been wronged by pretty much everybody and they see evil all around. So they're like, why wouldn't I just be my own brand of evil and enjoy myself? And it's like, you can actually find a deep sense of inspiration, encouragement from that mindset. Because at the end of the day, we're not the people who are going to go out and chop children up into little pieces and eat them. Those are the people who probably run government. And I have to say that because I'm on YouTube. We know they're the people who run government. But that's the beauty of this world at our core. We're just trying to find strength because we're either tired of being victimized ourselves or because we want to protect others from being victimized. And 9 times out of 10, even when you idolize a villain, you're not idolizing it in the sense that you want to go out and cause massive harm for, like, it's a really more of a power trip kind of thing that these people have. It's like they want to have the power so they're not being victimized. And more likely than not, they want to go out and fuck with these people because they don't see good around them. I consider it kind of like that old school mobster ethic. Like, they're going to go and they're going to fuck up the shopkeepers and they're not going to pay attention to certain rules. But there are lines that they also won't cross no matter how much they idolize certain villains who may cross those lines. Because at the end of the day, you and me, all of our common people, even the people who aren't spiritually awakened, if we were going to do truly awful shit, the world would look really different and these evil powers that be wouldn't be a factor. Because the world would just be actual mayhem and chaos. But it really isn't. There's too much rigid control, and more than that, there are just too many people who do what they're told, who follow all the rules, and still get fucked in the ass and suffer miserably. And that's utter bullshit. And that's what I mean about all the contradictions. There are so many contradictions around us. And once you realize you don't have to be completely factually right, you are just free and you are empowered. And there are going to be times when you're drained. There are going to be times when you're not, feeling your absolute vibrational best. And that's okay. As long as you're putting in the work, as long as you're not giving up on yourself, then you're still moving ahead. You're still working towards a great goal. And as long as in your mind you aren't willing to do certain things to get ahead, things are always going to work out for you. And realistically, the people who are willing to do those things to get ahead, and I mean true acts of evil, I mean just committing absolute acts of evil. Like, it is one thing, like I said, that if somebody's sabotaging you, if they're acting like they're your friend, and you want to experiment and go, let me treat these people shittily and see what happens. That's not an act of evil. That's an act of experimentation. A true act of evil is when you find somebody who hasn't done you or anybody else wrong, when you understand completely that they aren't doing wrong themselves, and you just want to oppress or harm them I do consider that an act of evil, but I don't see that energy. Even coming out of these people who idolize Sith, who idolize the Joker, I don't see that energy. I see people who've been broken and beaten down and who are sick and tired of being a victim, and they want to act like a monster just to scare off the other monsters. At the end of the day, I don't see those people crossing lines. And I think it's because at the core, the true evil people, they don't have love. They don't have a sense of passion. They can't find things that are inspirational to believe in. They can't sit there and have role models because all they want is, truth be told, I don't even really know. I don't even really give a shit. It just seems to me that all they want is to cause others harm and misery, even when there are people who are trying to, help them, even when there are complete other options at play. I just don't see them idolizing a villain. I don't see them idolizing anything. I don't see them caring about anything, not even themselves, because when you're committing all those acts of evil, it doesn't make your life any better. It really doesn't. I think it's like a drug addict, but like a rabid drug addict at that. I mean, this isn't somebody who's been broken and beaten down. This is somebody who, before they were broken and beaten down, wanted to break and beat down others. Like, plain and fucking simple. I believe all of those people who idolize people like Darth Vader and the Joker at the end of the day are doing so because something bad happened to them and they don't believe in heroes and they don't believe anybody's coming to save them, and so they want to find any way that they can to not be victimized again and to try to find a little bit of joy in the world in whatever fucked up ways they can. But I've met a lot of these people and I've, dealt with a lot of like metalheads and goths and all of these different kind of like tribes, if you will. And I've never seen genuine malice from them. I've always seen that crazy stare that's just a please don't fuck with me because I will fuck you up kind of way. I mean, they might sit around like a horror fan thinking of all kinds of fucked up shit. But at the end of the day, they're fantasizing about it. They're using that as like a meditative, inspirational recharge. They're trying to find some way to balance themselves. And maybe it's not the proper way to balance themselves, but I also think, again, if you're not out there having an Epstein Island or doing shit like that, to each to their own. It's about intent. Because I find that a lot of Satanists aren't Satanists because they want to bring evil into the world. It's because they see evil in Christianity and they just go, well, if that shit hurt me, if they were judgmental people on that side of the aisle, then this side of the aisle's got to be good. It's like at the end of the day, I think most people are trying to find their version of good. And there's no reason why you can't go, I want to be the good Joker. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, I don't even see as a villain. I see him as just somebody who's dealing with a crazy, horrible world. It'll be interesting to see Joker 2. Really excited for that. Can't wait. Just like Grand Theft Auto 6. Holla! But it's like, at the end of the day, I think a lot of times we don't see people like Tony Montana or the Joker or different characters as villains because we see them responding to the shit that other people are ignoring and just pretending doesn't exist. I mean, even Heath Ledger's Joker, to an extent, it's like, it's all part of the plan. It's like, maybe a lot of those villains want to be villains because they want to cause a hero to come out. Like, there's a lot of interesting psychology and a lot of interesting discussions that could be had without sitting there and judging these things endlessly and judging people who like those characters. It's like, I don't think they're terrorists. I don't think they're people who want to cause harm to others. I even think a lot of those people who are really angry online, and I think it all comes from a source of pain. And I think that if these people had it within them to be evil, they would be evil. They would be hurting others, and they would be finding sick, twisted, fucked up ways to get ahead. But I think you'll find that it's a very, very small segment of the population who does that kind of shit. And I don't believe in the first place that they ever knew, cared about, or understood, or had the capacity or ability to love, to feel passion, to feel inspiration. I don't think it was there for them. I think that they're hollow. I think that they're just heartless, evil doers. But it's very difficult if you walk around judging everyone to figure out, okay, who's the heartless evildoer and who's someone who's just broken, who's just looking at the world in a completely different way. I think the only way you can really tell is when you look in people's eyes. People who are broken and are into weird dark shit, you can still see a light in their eyes. There's something that's there. They don't appear empty and hollow. There's stuff inside. But people who are complete heartless evildoers who would kill a kid just to get ahead, just to have, their life improved, you see a complete emptiness within them. And I think it's because they're born without a soul, without something along those lines. But that's why we have to show our will. We have to realize that there's going to be things that are just going to try to make our day suck. And the easiest way to kick evil in the balls is to just rise above it. Now, when I say easiest, that doesn't mean that it's an easy process, because it takes a lot of doing and a lot of leveling up before you can really start enjoying it. And even then, there are still going to be battles that challenge you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it is the easiest way to change your vibrations, to turn things around in your life. You will see things getting better when you start applying that will. But it isn't going to be easy to apply that will at first. You're going to have to get accustomed to it. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to pick yourself back up again. You're going to have to realize that failing is not the end of everything, but it's really the beginning. Because when you fail, it's just giving you a chance to try again and to do better. The only thing that keeps us down is us. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be showing our Willie again soon.